Hey guys, Sketchy Boy here, and today I got a carburetor free. So today we're going to rebuild and clean the carburetor. Right here, as you can see, this thing is pretty old. It's off a 82 XR250R Honda. So the reason why I'm rebuilding is because it won't idle, it only runs on choke, and it's just crap. It's not running right, so it's obviously a fuel problem. So today you're going to need some tools. You're going to need maybe a wrench, depending on what kind of carburetor you have. You're going to need a toothbrush or some kind of cleaning tool, cleaning out those jets and stuff. You're going to need various screwdrivers, depending on what size of screws you have. And then you might need some needle nose pliers or some channel locks. You're going to need shot towels, maybe some cloths. You might need some penetrating fluid for those little bolts that might be stuck on there. You're going to need some kind of dish to put your parts in, and also you're going to need some kind of carb cleaner. You can use carb cleaner that's in a bottle like that, but I use my own, so it works a lot better for me. So yeah, let's begin. Okay, so got my carb right here, and first step I'm going to do is take the float bowl off. Now the float bowl is where, it's kind of like a reservoir. It's where the fuel is captured through this little port right here. This is what the hose connects to, and fuel runs in through the needle valve, and then that connects to the float bowl, or the float, sorry, and the float is what controls how much fuel gets into the float bowl, and then through the float bowl it goes into your chamber where it goes into your engine. So yeah, we're going to start by removing these 3 bolts. You might have 4 bolts, 5 bolts, depending on the model, but on this I have 3. So yeah. Okay, so right now we're upside down. The carb is upside down, and we are on the bottom where the float bowl is. So right now I'm about to remove the float bowl, and here is the float bowl. As you can see, this thing is very filthy. The previous owner of my bike, he put crap fuel in it, is what happened, and as you can see, it's all like gummed up in there. So that's why this carb's plugged. So as you can see right here, this is well, would be towards the engine this way, and so we got our float here. Now this can be made out of plastic or brass, anything that will float on gasoline. And we got our air fuel mixture screw right here, which is usually outside of the float bowl. And right here we got our, I believe it is our pilot jet, as well as our main jet right here. Now be careful where you put some stuff, like this little plastic thing here. It can only go on one way, so keep track of that. And so what I'm going to do is remove this main jet right here, and I'll take that apart, set it aside. And this is your little tube that goes inside of there. It's a tube shaped jet. As you can see, it's long like this, and you should be able to see through it. Yeah, you can see through it, which is good. It's not all gummed up. Next thing we're going to do is take apart the pilot jet right here. Now this should be hand tight. Before the video I loosened all of that. So this is your pilot jet right here. This is for low speed, idle jet, whatever you want to call it. For low speed, your main jet is for when you give it tons of throttle. So this you should be able to see through, and I don't think you can, so I'm pretty sure it's plugged, and that was my problem. The next step will be to actually remove the float itself. Now you have a pin right here that holds on. That pivots it right here. So I'm going to remove that and then I'll come back. Okay, so I went ahead and removed the float. Now carefully inspect this, see if there's any pinholes or anything, but in my case it seems to be pretty good. So inspect that. If you got pinholes, sometimes you can fix it up, but best thing to do is just replace it. So this is a pin that pivots the float right here. Took that out, and this is your needle valve right here. This is what controls how much fuel goes in there, and you really gotta make sure to watch that tip there if it's not all rounded off. But this is actually in fairly good condition. Also, you gotta check this little knob right here to make sure it still works up and down. It's very important. Also, I went ahead and removed the air fuel mixture screw. It looks something like this. So that is everything that is on the bottom where the float bowl is. Next we'll be moving to the top. Okay, so I got the top removed right here. Now be careful not to wreck this gasket here. There is a gasket. Just set that aside, and now I'll be working on getting this little valve here that controls how much air gets into the system right here. I'm going to try to take this off, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I disassembled this little throttle thing right here. This is what controls how much throttle you got. This is really going to vary on what kind of carburetor you have. Now mine, it's just the one on the outside like this that controls it like this and moves your piston up and down right here. Some models, they have a round piece right here, and then they have a diaphragm. It's with the spring, it's totally different, but in this model, this is how you gotta do it. So there is no diaphragm. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pull the piston out. I'm going to grab this little piece right here. I'm going to take the whole thing out and pop this thing right out. So this is your piston, and that's your little needle right there. A lot of carburetors won't have something like this. They'll just have a valve that looks something like this. They might have something like this. Now this is for the cheaper carburetors for very small engines like lawnmowers, but for motorcycles you probably have this kind, the piston right here. So be careful how this goes in, and don't lose anything. There was a washer here. Don't lose this. Keep track of the parts, and I'll continue disassembling this. Okay, so we're almost finished removing all the parts on the outside. So I came across this diaphragm here. I'm not 100% sure what it's for, but I'm removing it because the carburetor solution I use cannot contact with rubber parts like this, like a diaphragm. So be careful on that. I'm removing that. This had a spring on it as well, so be careful not to lose any parts like that. And keep them together. Don't lose them. And there is actually a little rubber O-ring right here. Make sure you don't lose parts like that. And yeah, we're almost finished here. I think I'm going to go ahead and remove this little mechanism right here for the choke. And we should be almost we're just going to pop this thing in here. Let's do it this way. pop this thing in here, and that doesn't fit, so that's okay. But we're just gonna do halfers on here, and we'll wait here for about 10 minutes. Okay guys, so it's been about an hour, and I went ahead and took every part out of the solution I had, the carb solution. And this is what we got, so I'll just go over the things. So this is your main body here that holds all your carburetor components in. And make sure you clean that hole out there, yes. This is your controller for your throttle control, which links up to your piston here, which controls how much air and fuel goes in there. This is your clutch lever. This is your cap for this. This is your float bowl. This is your idle adjustment. These are your jets. You got your fuel mixture jet. You got your main jet. You got your pilot jet. You got your valve here that controls how much fuel goes into the float bowl, this is the float right here, and this is the return spring for the throttle, and this right here is the plate for the choke, which chokes out the air that allow more fuel into the carb. So that's everything. So from now we're going to start rebuilding the carb. So I'm going to fast forward this and you'll see me rebuild the entire carb. So how we disassembled it, we're just going to assemble it in reverse fashion. And also make sure to, I didn't put this in a video, but make sure to use an air hose. Use air and blow every single poured out jet, every hole you can find in the carburetor. Blow all that solution out of there. You can use carb cleaner, works very well as well. But yeah. Okay guys, last step of this video will be to actually adjust your fuel or air screw. Now in this case it's a fuel screw because the engine goes this way, so the closer to the air intake or engine is will determine if it's an air or fuel screw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it in all the way. Then I'm going to do, for the specification of mine, I'm going to do 1, 2.5 turns out, and that'll be good. So anyways guys, that was everything, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and please stay tuned for other videos just like this.